pick up the phone. Fire Department Headquarters, Lieutenant Torrillo. Hey, good morning, this is the Fisher-Price Corporation. I said, hold on a second, you got the wrong number. This is Fire Department Headquarters. No, we don't have the wrong number. You want to speak to Lieutenant Torrillo? Okay, that's me, how could I help you? He said, we want to run something by you might be interested in. Okay, what's that? I thought they opened up a new office in Manhattan. They wanted me to go and host fire drills. No, it has nothing to do with that. We want to run something by you. You have some time to speak? It's 9 o'clock and I work till 6 o'clock. Can you speak for 9 hours? Shoot, give it to me. What do you got? I was asked by Fisher-Price to help design an action figure, which would be in addition to their current rescue heroes, like Jake Justice, a police officer, Bill Barker, his partner, a canine police officer, their boss, Sergeant Simon, his boss, Captain Cuffs, an ambulance attendant by the name of Perry Medic, a lifeguard called Sandy Beach, a construction worker called Jack Hammer, a mountain rescue specialist by the name of Cliff Hanger, and his partner, Rocky Canyon, and a medevac pilot by the name of Howley Copter. They had a scuba diver called Gil Gripper. They also had an astronaut called Roger Houston. They had a ski patrol by the name of Al Pine. They had a female firefighter called Wendy Waters. And now they wanted a New York City firefighter to be their new rescue hero. They would call him Billy Blazes, and if helped them design it, I was going to get $1 for everyone sold around the world. The money wasn't going to go in my pocket or go in my education program. And I used that kind of funding to buy smoke detectors and give them out free to people like you in New York City that would come into my audience and listen to me how to both prevent and survive a fire. Back home in New York City, if you give somebody something, they'll come and talk to you. If it's free, it's for me. If you're a cop or a firefighter, if it's free, can I have 3? In any event, so I thought this was a great idea. It was a good way of me raising money for my education program. So now they wanted this new rescue hero to be a likeness of a New York City firefighter. His name was going to be Billy Blazes. I set up a meeting with the Fisher-Price executives and artists in January of 2001, around the end of the month. And as I was talking, the artist sketched, as I explained what a New York City fireman looks like with his clothing, tools, and air mask. And at the end of the day, the sketch was complete. And they took the artwork to create the first prototype. From that artwork to the prototype, it took 6 months from artwork to prototype. From January to July of 2001, this was the prototype made from the artwork. I set up another meeting with the Fisher-Price executive to review the prototype. And at the meeting, we requested some changes. And the Fisher-Price executive was asking me, what actually defines the New York City fireman? Not that we're any better or any different than any other fireman. What defines you? What would you say that people like most about you? I said, I don't know, we're unshaven, we got big mustache, and we smoke cigars. So they said, we're not going to put a cigar in Billy Blazes' hand. They took out a black Sharpie, and they drew a big mustache on him. And everybody thought he needs to look more like me. And they remolded Billy Blazes, which took 3 weeks. And this was the remolded Billy Blazes on July 28, 2001. And he's here today, Fisher-Price. So now we agreed he can go into mass production, and the Fisher-Price executives want to have a big press conference in New York City. They said, where can we have a press conference? I said, let's do it at the Fire Zone. What's that? It's a new learning center I designed. We opened last year. We won an Emmy Award. Oh my God, where is it? It's in Radio City, right next door to Radio City Music Hall in Rockefeller Center. They says, oh my God, can we really do it there? I said, of course, I'm the director. They said, oh my God, this is getting better and better. We're going to introduce the new rescue hero at the new Children's Fire Safety Learning Center. They said, okay, we know where we're going to do the press conference, but when? I said, well, let's do it in October. They said, why October? I said, well, this is the end of July. We need some time to get it together, and plus October's Fire Prevention Month. It's the longest running health initiative in the world. It goes back to 1871, after they rebuilt Chicago after the great fire where supposedly Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern in the barn and burned half the city down. And every October since, they captured that month to actually prevent fires. And they thought that was very apropos to the project, a natural tie. But October was too close to the Christmas and the holiday season. They wanted to get Billy Blazes on the market a little bit sooner. Well, this was July 28, 2001. October seemed to be too far away for them. And I was kind of brainstorming in the meeting. I didn't know what date in between would be appropriate for this project. And so anyway, I said to them, you know what? How about we do it on September 11, 2001 to introduce him to the world? And they said, why? I said, because 911 is the emergency phone number in New York City when you need help from the police, fire, and ambulance. Why don't we, for the first time, have a 911 themed safety day? We can talk about how to prevent fires, how to survive fires, and at the same time, we can introduce the new rescue hero, New York City firefighter called Billy Blazes, made in my likeness. And they says, oh my God, that's such a great novel idea. So ladies and gentlemen, on 911, September 11, 2001, every TV station, every newspaper reporter was waiting for me in Rockefeller Center with the fire commissioner, the mayor, the Fisher-Price executive, to introduce a new rescue hero by name of Billy Blazes, made in my likeness. I chose the date, not knowing what was going to happen. And on that beautiful day, anybody who was 30 years of age or older would be 8 years old on that day, 22 years ago. The sky was a perfect shade of blue. The birds were welcoming the beautiful morning sunshine, bidding farewell to the ending of summer. And the little Greek church across the street from the South Tower, St. Nicholas, the bells were tolling. It was the first day of school for kids. And we were also voting in the primary for the new mayor of New York City. I got to my office early that morning, about 6 o'clock, and I wanted to catch up on paperwork and emails and voicemail, scheduling, payroll. And while I'm in my office, about 8, close to about 8:45, there was a report of a plane hitting the Twin Towers. I hear people out in the hallways outside my office. And I'm hearing all this commotion. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I went next door to my boss's office, and this is what I saw on his TV. So I said to my boss, I says, hey, Captain, I says, what is this? I said, is this a movie? Is this a whole simulation? What is this? He said, no, Joe. He said, this really just happened. And now I'm thinking about the firefighters across the street from the World Trade Center where I started my career. I don't know really what to think. And then American Airlines flight number 11 that struck the North Tower at 8:46, just as I was leaving for the press conference. And we're all wondering, was it a small plane or a jet? Uncertain, we're not sure whether it was a little Piper Cub or a commercial jet. But all I knew was that I had to get out of headquarters immediately and make sure at the press conference or I was going to be stuck in traffic. So I raced out of headquarters in my little Ford Escort, and I headed to the Brooklyn Bridge about 2 blocks away. And I'm heading over the Brooklyn Bridge from the Brooklyn to the Manhattan side. And when I got to the Manhattan side, I'm looking to the left, and this is what I see. I can see about 10 floors of fire on the top of the North Tower, engulfed in all this black smoke. I don't know what to think. This is like something more than I ever saw my whole career. And I keep thinking and thinking, this couldn't have been a little plane. It must have been a commercial jet, but it doesn't make sense because jets don't fly in that direction where it was struck. They fly in the opposite direction on their way to LaGuardia Airport. So I'm thinking this had to have been a jet, but why? It doesn't make sense to me. But I'm thinking about my friends in my original firehouse across the street from the World Trade Center, and I have to make a quick decision by the time I got to the Manhattan side of the bridge. Do I make a right and go to the press conference with Billy Blazes, or do I make a left and go to my firehouse where I started my career, follow some firefighting clothing, and jump into action? And I'm thinking about the media, the TV reporters, the newspapers, all the media that was going to be there. And I said, the heck with them, heck with Billy Blazes, this ain't happening today. And I made my way to my original firehouse. I was there at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning, 14 minutes after the first jet struck the North Tower between the 93rd and the 99th floor. And I parked my car on the sidewalk in the back of the firehouse because I remembered in the bombing of the Twin Towers in 1993, we were the first ones inside the building. There were so many cars haphazardly parked around the circumference of the towers that day. We couldn't get ambulances to and from hospitals because we couldn't find the drivers to all these emergency vehicles. So the lesson we learned from the bombing in 1993, if there was ever another incident, which there was 8 years later on September 11th, don't block the streets with your vehicles. So I parked my car on the back of the firehouse. I ran into the firehouse and I needed firefighting clothing. I took off my dress uniform and I went over to the firefighting rack where we all leave our firefighting clothing when we're off duty. And Lieutenant Tommy McNamara was off duty. I took his coat, his helmet, his boots, his jacket, and I ran out of the firehouse. I ran out of the firehouse, but I had to run around the South Tower to get to the North Tower. And as I'm running, United Airlines Flight 175 approaches the South Tower. As I'm running past the tower, I was right underneath the jet. It came right over on my head. United Airlines Flight 175 and struck the tower 903. It hits the tower and just disappears. And this huge fireball came right down at me. I turned, I made it back into the firehouse, and that fireball just exploded right on the street. I would have been killed right there had it not made it back into the firehouse 50 feet away. And New Yorkers on the way to work are looking up in disbelief. And to me, it's obvious a terrorist attack because 2 buildings struck by 2 jets within 17 minutes. This is no accident. And I know more so because I was there for the bombing 8 years before. And I realized those that are trapped above have no way of getting below the fire, and we have no way of getting to them. For the first time in my career, I never ever felt so vulnerable as a first responder, thinking that I would never be able to rescue somebody. We were not going to get to them. There's no way they were getting down. Then they started hanging out the windows, waving an article of clothing down at us below, as if to say, hurry up and come and get us, we can't take it no more. And people were actually trying to slide down the side of the building, and they were doing that until they fell and they started tumbling down to the ground. 200 to 300 people were jumping all around me, holding hands, hugging each other. And people always ask me nowadays, like, why did you say the buildings were going to collapse? I knew the buildings would collapse because I went to school for architecture and engineering. That's what I was supposed to do with my life until my friends had an extra application for the fire department. And I got into this fire service just on a whim, just to get my friends angry. I was never meant to do this. I was meant to actually work for a big construction company. This is me when I was a freshman in college. People think I'm a Michael Jackson doppelganger or something. That was actually me. All the Spanish girls used to go crazy for me. In fact, you know what they still do? You know, an old rooster is like your own chickens, what can I tell you? But anyway, so when I became a firefighter, when I became a firefighter, I used to say to myself, why did I waste my time going to engineering school for? I said to myself, I wasted all that time reading these hideous textbooks. Whoever writes textbooks should be jailed for life. Why did I stay up punching calculations? Why did I stay up all night long drawing blueprints? I never did nothing with that degree. I became a firefighter. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Education is never wasted. You never know when your education is going to come back and benefit you. Because once you get your education, you're going to be infinitely a much better person than you were before. That is a fact. And once you get your education, it can't be stolen from you. You can't rent it. It can't be borrowed. It can't be lost. Your education is going to mean everything to you. I thought I wasted my time going and getting an engineering degree. What did I do with it? Well, you know, it all came back to me on September 11th, because when I was in engineering school, 2 of my professors were working for the concrete contractor on the Twin Towers. They could take us there on a school trip to study the buildings when they were going up. I studied the towers as they were going up as an engineering student, and now we're back as a firefighter protecting them and no longer an engineering student studying them. And here I am, a firefighter across the street, and I would look at those towers every day and reminisce about the days I was there on a class trip so many years before, and those memories all came back to me on September 11th. I'm looking at the towers and I'm seeing the support system in my brain, and I'd say these buildings are going to collapse, but nobody wants to listen to me or believe me. They can't understand why I'm saying that. And now I get invited all around the world to do a presentation on the design, the collapse of the Twin Towers, why it happened, and all the things that are surrounded by it. And I think my biggest fear was that I knew we were going to lose a lot of people that day. I didn't want to lose the ambulance crews, because they were going to be the people we needed the most at the end of the day, EMTs and paramedics. People talk about the incident at the World Trade Center as the biggest firefighting incident in history. That is nonsense. We didn't get a drop of water on either one of those fires. It was not a firefighting incident. It was a mass evacuation incident and the biggest EMS incident that anybody ever witnessed. They were setting up the triage, the treatment area in the lobby of both towers, which was the logical place to do it. But I thought that was a bad thing to do. They need to get out of the towers, because when the towers came down, they would be killed, and we'd have actually now nobody to treat people. And they're giving me a hard time as the ovation to the scene. They all wanted to go into the towers, and I chased them all away. They didn't want to leave. This last ambulance crew gave me a hard time. They said, who the hell are you? Excuse the expression. We don't work for you. You got no authority. We don't know what the heck you've been talking about. You sound like an idiot. But I said to them, look, get out of the tower now and drive about 6 blocks away. Park the ambulances side by side. We'll call you one crew at a time as we need you. And they agreed. They drove away, and I was outside the South Tower, right underneath it. I heard a loud rumble and roar, and I look up, and here comes the tower. And I said to myself, you idiot, you're the one who knew the building was going to collapse, and you put yourself right underneath it. I said to myself, you got about 10 seconds left to live, And I started running. There was a footbridge. I thought I could make it underneath the footbridge in front of the towers that would across the main thoroughfare. And I start running as fast as I can. Now the tower's coming down quicker and quicker. And as the towers are coming down, one floor is hitting the floor below 110 times. Boom, 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 boom. And as each floor is hitting the floor below, it's puffing air out like a fireplace bellows. I could hear. And the air caught the back of my helmet and took my helmet off my head. My helmet was just flying through the air, faster than I'm even running. And I'm watching my helmet go faster and faster. It was going up. It was making a U-turn, almost like a boomerang. But I just kept on running. And here comes the building. It's coming down. And people all around the perimeter are looking up in horror. They can't believe what they're seeing. And this huge dust cloud is chasing people as they're running to make it to the Brooklyn Bridge to get out of Manhattan. This is what you're seeing. The mayor and the governor were told to evacuate. Here comes the building. It's falling down. I'm trying to outrun it. All the pieces of the building are coming down. And the tower fell on top of the hotel, which was in between the two towers. There was the Marriott Hotel, which was number 3 World Trade Center. And the hotel, the South Tower fell on top of the hotel, split the hotel in half, and the hotel fell on top of me. A piece of steel split the back of my head wide open. Had a fractured skull, huge slabs of concrete just hit my body. Now all my ribs are broken, my left arm is snapped in half, my neck and spine is crushed, I'm bleeding internally, and I got a fractured skull. And all around New York City, within a 4-block radius, people are being hit with debris and glass, and people are running in every single direction. This is what you saw all over as people were trying to escape the big dust cloud. That huge dust cloud covers all along Manhattan. I'm buried alive and I didn't make it. And there's no more air under this dust cloud. I'm suffocating. I'm pinned under tons of steel and concrete. And all around me, in the darkness, were people buried with me. They were screaming in the darkness. Then their screams turned to cries. Cries turned into whimpers and moans. One by one, these people had all died. There was total silence. I'm all alone. And all these people were dead. No more noises from them. No more cries for help. Now I'm surrounded by fires. And I actually said a prayer. I was hoping I would suffocate before I burned to death. I had a flashback 20 years before to January 10th, 1981, when I was sworn into the fire department. And I remembered standing in line with 124 other young guys with our right hand in the air, taking the oath of office, saying that we'd be willing to lay down our lives so that somebody else might live. In the discharge of our duties and becoming a new fireman in New York City, you know, I kept on saying to myself, as I was taking my last breath of life, you never took that oath very seriously. And then I said to myself, why did I choose this career?